What's going on, everybody? Happy St. Patrick's Day. And as the chat is already lined up, it's Woofing Wednesday out there. And with it being St. Patrick's Day, I'm expecting a ruly chat out there. So welcome in. We are the DFS OGs here every Wednesday night, taking you through the NBA slate. I, of course, am your host each Wednesday, Chris Beermakers Fan Prince, joined by my boys, like every Wednesday, Notorious and Head Chopper. Chop, let's go to you, buddy. I expected you to come in all green here, Chop. Green hat, the glasses. What's going on, man?
I forgot all about. I'm not gonna lie, man. I'm real busy Wednesday today. We got the NCAA's cranking up here in about 48 hours, 36 hours, whatever it is, and just super busy, man. I forgot all about. When you get a little bit older, some of these holidays kind of fall by the wayside, and St. Patrick's Day for me has been one of them. So I'm not dressed up in green.
Yeah, this is definitely one. I used to be out there partying at 7, 8 in the morning, and you get a little older, and same. I forgot. My kids are all in green this morning. I'm looking around like, oh yeah, it is St. Patrick's Day. So Notorious, no green for you either, my man. What's going on?
Yeah, a little bit of green on the hat, I think.
Okay, we'll call it.
My 5-year-old will not let me forget about this holiday. He's been trying to catch a leprechaun for a week now, and I don't want to let him in on the bad news just yet.
All right. Well, 10 games on the docket here tonight. I want to go through some of the housekeeping first, some of the promotions we got going on. First of all, Rotogrinders Premium, we talk about it every week. So you guys have the option now to pick your sports. If you don't want everything, you can pick and choose what you want or go with everything, which gives you some of the best premium content out there. Devin's going to drop a link here in the chat, $10 off, and you're definitely going to want to take advantage of that. We got March Madness. Chop brought it up right around the corner. Personally, my favorite sporting event of the year. Cannot wait. And that leads us into scoresandodds.com premium. Guys, some of the best content out there. And these two guys are giving out winners each and every night over there. All the different sports. Notorious killing it in golf. We got college basketball picks, obviously, with March Madness coming up. NBA. But guys, you can try it out for $5. 5 days for $5. I mean, you can't beat that deal. Limited time offer until March 22nd. And what a better weekend to give it a shot and get some of these premium picks. Nothing more fun to bet than the NCAA tournament. So make sure you take advantage of that. We also have a deal going on with Monkey Knife Fights. We're going to provide you some of our favorite Monkey Knife Fight promos here throughout the show. But get over there, guys. Promo code Grinders will get you a 100% deposit bonus up to $50. They're also running a free bracket contest, $2,500 in prizes over there. So 3 ways you can join that. You can opt in email-wise. You can log in and create a Monkey Knife Fight account, which, again, promo code Grinders. And then you just get in there and you make your pick. So it looks like a fun bracket contest. There's a million of those out there, but always fun to fill out some brackets with your buddies, with whoever. So make sure you guys get over to the Monkey Knife Fight, take advantage. All right, guys, let's get into tonight's slate. 10 games on the docket. Let's give kind of an overview, then we'll come back and hit on some of the injuries, some of the things we're watching on. We'll go position by position. We'll have SBK jumping on here in about 10 minutes to talk projections, see what's going on in the war room and the chat. We want to hear from you as well. We'll sprinkle your comments throughout the show. If you have questions, we'll try to save those to the end, but we want to weave them into the show as well. And your favorite betting picks. Chop's going to be keeping an eye on things, spreads, totals, the mortal locks. If you use caps, you're probably going to get in there. So let's see some of your favorite bets. So I've rambled on enough here. Speaking of woofing, I'm running out of breath here. So Notorious, what are you looking at here on tonight's slate? Just kind of your overview of this big slate we got going on tonight.
Yeah, it should be a fun one. Obviously, the biggest situations I'm monitoring, the Warriors and the Rockets. Both teams going to be incredibly shorthanded right before we came on. Pascal and Wiseman both ruled out. And then Houston, obviously, been playing shorthanded for a few weeks now. And Daniel House, Ben McLemore, still questionable. They aren't guys that, soak up a lot of usage, but they are soaking up a lot of minutes. So if they are out again, that's going to open up a ton of value for Houston. And we saw last night, if you stack that Rockets game, you were in pretty good shape. I think we're going to see something similar with that with the Warriors tonight. And then Kyrie Irving being out for the Nets is obviously big news. Harden's going to be riding solo there. So I think he's going to be one of the more popular plays and a guy that I just lock into all of my contests. And you're talking about scores and odds. I always go to a little casino a couple hours away and bet on every single first round matchup of the March Madness. And I know nothing about college basketball, so I'm always doing like heads or tails, or we do rock, paper, scissors, all kind of weird games to get our picks. Now I just have to go on Scores and Odds, copy all of Chops and Varnkus and Dan's picks, and be on my way.
There you go. I mean, and there's been, it's almost been printing money using that. Some great picks have been going on in those channels, NBA and college basketball. So super excited to have that as a tool next to filling out the bracket for sure. Chop, talk some scoresandodds.com, talk some March Madness, and how are you attacking this Big Ten game slate tonight?
Oh yeah, Scores and Odds. That's the place where I look up my odds, man. They got some pretty good. You got a pretty good little format over there, easy on the eyes. So I appreciate that. But yeah, just like Notorious said, there's a few injuries we can take advantage of, and we're going to get there. And I think it's a good, with when you're down to like 7, 8 guys, you're going to be able to play several guys from the Rockets team like that. But it's the opponents. I think that's the key thing right there is the opponents. I actually dug in a little and did a little research because I was curious. The Rockets been getting hammered, man, 17 in a row losses, and they haven't looked good. Obviously, they're tanking. And I dug in a little bit in this 17-game losing streak. They've had only 3 games in the single digits. Everything else has been a double-digit loss. 7 of those things have been 20-plus points. They lost by 49 one night. Like, they're in not only full tank mode, but they're really, really bad right now. So we're not seeing the more expensive guys on the other side of that ball get it done for the opponents. They're resting like Trae Young. Some guys did well for Atlanta last night, but if you spent up on Trae Young, man, you weren't very happy with that performance. And it's been like that night after night against them because these guys aren't even hardly playing the fourth quarter a lot. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting what kind of game we get out of Houston tonight.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's been Houston value, but you nailed it on the other side. Trae Young was the guy I spent up on last night and just didn't get there. So certainly something to keep an eye on here tonight as well. All right, let's run through some of the injuries here. I'll just hit on some of the major ones. Obviously, like any night and with a 10-game slate, you got a ton of injuries, but Toronto is a situation we got to keep an eye on. OG and Anunoby is out, but we may get the return of Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam, so they are questionable right now. Brooklyn, a big one. We know KD has remained out. No Kyrie Irving tonight. So that's huge for James Harden. No Blake Griffin yet. Sounds like he's about a week out until he comes in. Philly going to be without Joel Embiid. Big news for Simmons, Tobias Harris, some of those guys. Boston, no Kemba Walker. He's going to sit tonight along with Tristan Thompson. We've talked about Houston, pretty much the whole team out. Oladipo, Wall, Gordon, Nwaba, PJ Tucker, Christian Wood supposed to return tonight, and Chop, that's another one. They lost all those games the minute he went out. It's been Christian Wood gone, 17-game losing streak. So we'll bring him up and see if he's a guy we want to attack. Are they going to kind of restrict his minutes tonight? So we'll talk some Houston. San Antonio, we have no LaMarcus Aldridge, who will probably be traded, but DeMar DeRozan remains out as well, dealing with a personal matter. Jimmy Butler, questionable for Miami, a big name. And then again, some minor injuries along the way. So out of that list, Chop, what stands out? What are you looking forward to here injury-wise? Let's just recap that real quick.
I don't think there's any one particular thing that really jumps out. They're all pretty good. There's I guess maybe getting Kyrie out of there, giving James Harden, the full run here is going to be, that's a pretty easy plug and play. And then because of that, I've been pretty impressed when he's gotten the opportunity this year in these kind of situations with Bruce Brown, believe it or not. He's been pretty good. So I think that opens it up for you. And the rest of it is kind of self-explanatory, man. The Rockets, we know what we're going to do there. This Porter, man, he's dynamic,
Beast.
He should be like 100%, really, honestly, with this kind of a lineup they got tonight. So we'll see, but people won't, some people will fade him, but he's a monster, and that kind of plays into itself. And yeah, that other stuff we'll see how it plays out in Golden State, though.
Did FanDuel wake up and raise the price on Kenyon Martin today? I haven't built the FanDuel lineup yet. So, all right, they got him up to 5K. I mean, that dude was balling out. He was still 3,500 the other day. So he's up to 5,000. But yeah, Houston, definitely a team we can stack up. Derek, your thoughts real quick on all the injuries we just rattled off. What are you keeping an eye on? Which one do you think is most important there?
Yeah, I think most important for me is Houston. Like I mentioned, just those, tertiary guys, if they end up being out, I think that is good news for the rest of the value plays there. I'm kind of hoping Toronto's, close to full strength, so I can just fade that game completely. And then Jimmy Butler, even if he's out, I just don't know if I want to play anybody in that game. It's going to be slow paced. Both teams are pretty good defensively. And it's not like one guy's going to pick up the slack for Butler. You still got Hero and Dragic and none all in the mix. So, yeah, I mean, the injuries, I think most of them we've already got that are important. And, yeah, ready to break down the slate.
Absolutely. So our boy Steve Josephine in the chat, I always forget to ask for the thumbs up. Some people beg for them thumbs up. Guys, you're having a good time. Take a second. That's the way that really helps out the show. Tells YouTube we want the DFS OGs bringing us our content. So hit that thumbs up button, guys. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel and take advantage of those links Devin dropped in the chat. All right, Noto, let's stay with you. Let's get the point guard. We'll have SBK here in a few minutes. But dive in, point guard position. Where are we looking?
Yeah, so I think one of the contrarian ways you can get is to spend up at the position. I think Thomas Satoransky is going to be pretty popular. He's only below 4K on both FanDuel and DraftKings. He scored 33 and 31 fantasy points the last 2 games. Pretty good matchup at home against the Spurs. So if you're saving, I like going that route. If you're spending up, a lot of good options on FanDuel. I like Russell Westbrook quite a bit. 10-4 is a pretty good price point. We already got word that he's going to rest tomorrow, so you got to think he's going to see a full complement of minutes. I like Stephen Curry in tournaments. I like him a little bit more now that he's probably going to be more popular with, people looking to stack that game. But I still like him there. And then Luka Doncic is going to be the one that I don't think anybody goes to. Playing in that late game, a lot of people like getting exposure to those early games. A pretty tough matchup against the Clippers, but Bill Beverly, we know he's matchup proof anyway, so he's a guy that I really like. And if we want to throw Kevin Porter as a point guard, I think you just got to play him. Like Chop said, you could hit 100% of him and feel pretty good about it. He's averaging 1.17 fantasy points a minute, averaging 40 fantasy points per game. No Wall, no Oladipo. So, yeah, absolutely love the spot for Porter on all sites.
Yeah, I mean, if you're getting 40 fantasy points at under 7K, I mean, it's hard not to play that guy. So, Chop, your thoughts at point guard? I'm gonna ask you about a couple guys you didn't bring up. Tyrese Halliburton expected back and starting, but maybe on a minutes restriction. So the price is nice there. The matchup, obviously, a total approaching 250. Is there still room for Halliburton at 5,500? And Malcolm Brogdon, on the other side of that Nets game is a guy I know you bring up a lot. We always say he's kind of nobody really wants to ever play Malcolm Brogdon. Thoughts on those two guys and the rest of the point guard position?
Yeah, Halliburton's not really going to be a guy for me tonight because of the minutes restriction. I mean, I know he's a pretty awesome guy and he could bust out like 2 points per minute fantasy wise. You just never know, but he's not for me. When I hear the term minutes restriction, I pretty much run from that situation, especially on a night like tonight where I just so much out there. I don't know why I would mess around with that. Brogdon, I think, is in play. Brogdon's always pretty decent here. So I like Brogdon tonight. Anytime you get a shuffling in the starting lineup like Brooklyn has to do tonight without Kyrie, probably hurts the defense more so than the offense. The offense was always going to run through James Harden anyway. But so Brogdon is definitely in play. There's some other guys I'll look at FanDuel and say Drew Holiday, still cheap. Like he's come back now. He's playing over 30 minutes a game. He was crushing before the injury, and now he's getting back to those minutes. But he had an off game last game, so maybe people will shy away from him. And there's a chance here that, like, he doesn't get the Ben Simmons treatment. And Ben Simmons is maybe the best defender in the NBA. So if he doesn't get that, if Ben Simmons goes elsewhere, which I think there's a chance we could see something different, that Drew Holiday maybe could crush. Like, supposing Ben Simmons gets the Giannis assignment, let's let Ben – boy, then then not only would it nullify Giannis, now Drew's going to be one of the focal points. So I like that as an option. Looking at DeJounte Murray with DeMar still out and he's in the mix. If you want to get spunky on the game stack in Houston, Curry's right there. But, man, I'm telling you, the expensive guy, like the cheaper ones, when we're talking about Draymond, he's cheap enough to where, all right, I'm not worried about maybe getting all the minutes run that he normally is. With Curry at this price tag, kind of want all the minutes. I don't want him to lose anything to a blowout, so I'm a little worried about that. But yeah, and like Noto said, Westbrook, I think, man, 247. Somebody in chat brought it up here a little while ago. I'm gonna mark it down on the sheet, but 247. That's one of the higher regular season totals I've ever seen. So you gotta have some players from that game.
Yeah, for sure. We don't get many games pushing 250. So you brought up Ben Simmons defensively. What thoughts offensively? Thoughts fantasy wise with no Embiid?
Man, I want to go there. It seems like and the projections keep telling me go to Ben Simmons. But man, he's been so disappointing. Even with Embiid out of this lineup, he's just been so disappointing. I don't know if I can go back there right now. Man, maybe you might miss the day, but look who's around him in that price range. We know we're going to get something good out of DeJounte. I think we're going to get something good out of Brogdon. LaMelo Ball's in there. Kyle Lowry, Darren Fox. Like I think I'd rather take a shot on these guys than Ben Simmons right until he shows me something.
Yeah, it's just all right. We're going to go to SBK here in a moment. Just going to wrap up here with the point guard. You brought him up at the end. I really like De'Aaron Fox tonight. Nobody's going to want to pay $9,200 for this guy. A great matchup. We don't have Marvin Bagley. If Halliburton's going to be limited in minutes, I think De'Aaron Fox, the guy that could go nuts, and probably 3% owned is what we're showing on De'Aaron Fox. So I just wanted to get him in here to wrap up the point guard position. SBK, my man, welcome back. How we doing?
Good, guys. How's it going?
It's going. Obviously, we got 10 games on the docket, a lot of major injury situations. So why don't you hit on the ones that you're the most interested in? Obviously, Houston, a spot we want to talk about, Brooklyn without Kyrie, but anything else besides those two that you think are super important tonight? The floor is yours, my man.
So I'll kind of move a little bit left to right in terms of start times here. So Toronto, Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam, both questionable. They've been missing time in the health protocols. They get those guys back. Obviously, Kyle Lowry is going to take a pretty steep downturn in terms of his per minute upside. Same with Norman Powell. Chris Boucher's minute upside also takes a hit. So that's kind of a situation worth monitoring at this point. Patrick McCall also questionable. So just kind of, if those guys sit again, obviously we'll have Lowry, Powell, Boucher kind of back on the radar. But if all those guys go, it's going to be kind of tough to roster any of the Raptors really and feel confident about it. On the Houston side, they actually have kind of more bodies. I mean, at least as of now, still three guys technically questionable. Christian Wood and Danuel House both expected to play. We have them both at 25 minutes. Woods missed a lot of time, so it's possible that they limit him even further than that. But given the per minute upside, he still projects from us 36 fantasy points. Obviously, when he was there, we were dealing with Marcus Cousins. They had, ball dominant guards there. Not as much the case now. So when his, minutes are kind of back toward normal, I would expect he'll have massive projections on a nightly basis. But even with Wood and House potentially back, Kevin Porter still looking pretty appealing. No Oladipo, no John Wall. So he's going to continue to be able to run the offense. He kind of looks okay as a point guard. But yeah, 1.17 fantasy points per minute so far in 4 games with the Rockets. Outside of that, let's see what else we're looking at in terms of questionable guys.
How about let's talk Tyrese Halliburton. We brought him up earlier. They're
Sure.
saying a minutes restriction. We got the Chief in the chat saying it looks like 30 to 32 minutes is the restriction. So maybe not as big of a restriction as we thought. So thoughts there in a pretty high total game.
Yeah, so I actually had him projected initially last night at 32 minutes, assuming that he would start. And yeah, the reports in terms of his restriction are 30 to 32 minutes. I feel like with those types of restrictions, generally, if the guy's playing well and the game's close, they don't tend to be like super, making sure he doesn't get to 33. But yeah, I mean, 5.5K on DraftKings with the 32-minute projection. So he's kind of still, a pretty appealing play. We have him projected for about 27% projected ownership on DK. So yeah, I mean, I heard you talking about De'Aaron Fox though, right before I came on, and I do love me some De'Aaron Fox tonight too. So you have kind of a lot of appealing targets. Rashawn Holmes, another one on that King side. He's been playing. His minutes have kind of been creeping up lately. I think he played 41 in that last game against Charlotte, and then 35, 34 in the games before that. So when he's playing, a lot of minutes, he's obviously got pretty ample per minute upside. And at 6.7K, I think there's definitely room for a ceiling there.
I know Chop's a big Rashawn Holmes guy tonight. I saw a little prop bet for him on Holmes, but one more situation, then I'll get you over to Chop and Noto. Jimmy Butler, any insights there? To me, we've seen this line kind of trend towards Memphis. So is that telling us Jimmy Butler's going to sit tonight?
Yeah, that's the number one reason why I would kind of have him closer to doubtful than questionable. Just generally, I feel like they're on a back-to-back. I think they'll want to be kind of careful with Butler. And the Heat in general have been playing a ton better than they have early in the season. Like they're kind of comfortably in the 4th spot in the East now. So I don't imagine that they're going to push him too hard if they feel like there's any concern there. But if he doesn't go, obviously we'll have Dragic, Tyler Hero, Kendrick Nunn become a lot more appealing. Same with Bam Adebayo. So yeah, I think gun to my head right now, I assume that Butler probably sits. But yeah, that's another one that's definitely worth monitoring as we approach lock.
All right, Chop, the floor is yours.
Yeah, you covered the injuries pretty good. I just got one question for you. Is Soccer Dave? How bad is he right now on this diet? Getting back in shape. How bad is he to be around right now?
Chop, I haven't seen Dave in the flesh, and I think it's been over a year now. I'm hearing inklings that he's on a diet and that he's, actually making an effort to try.
Oh, you think the pics are photoshopped?
There we go.
Yeah,
we go.
I don't know. I just knowing Dave, and I know he loves to talk about working out and eating well, and he's good at doing that. But I don't know if he's actually good at practicing what he preaches.
Oh.
So we'll see. I'm looking forward to actually seeing him in the office, but I don't imagine he's going to look a whole lot better. But only time will tell.
Damn. Shots fired. I love it. No. I don't know how you follow that up, but you're up.
Yeah, I can't top that question. Mine was Rashawn Holmes related. I was on Court IQ and I saw he and Whiteside haven't played 1 minute together this season. So with Whiteside being back tonight, is he going to be like less than 15 minutes? Can we still expect Holmes to play minutes in the low to mid 30s?
Yes, we have Whiteside projected at 12 minutes right now. He also kind of, he's missed a pretty decent amount of time. Not that he generally plays much anyway. I could see that potentially eating into Holmes's run mildly, but I think probably best case scenario, maybe Whiteside plays 15, 16 minutes, which leaves 32, 33 for Holmes. So pretty much what we have him projected at now. So I'm pretty comfortable where we are on that. But yeah, I wouldn't be shocked to see Whiteside be closer to like 15 or 16 minutes rather than 12 we haven't projected for.
All right, Chop, I see you in the chat, stoking the flames. I like it. SBK, any final thoughts here for the people before we let you get out of here?
I think that's about it, man. There's still a lot of kind of questionable guys in that situation room right now. So still obviously a lot of moving parts to go as we approach lock. But yeah, I'm sure you guys will keep everybody up to date till then. And then, follow along with alerts and, keep you up to date.
Absolutely. Apparently, Soccer Dave's weight loss is the biggest questionable of all. SBK, we'll let you go, my man. We appreciate the insight. As always, good luck tonight. We'll see you next week.
See you, boys.
Chop, I got to go to you. You're starting a little war here with our boy SBK and Soccer Dave. So what do we got going on here?
No, I don't have anything. I'm just curious.
I'm just stoking the flames.
I see the guy on Twitter. He's posting a lot of pics. I want to know if this is true or not, because we do know he's a Photoshop guy. None of this stuff could be true. It could be all Photoshop.
Too good. All right, let's get back to the NBA. Shooting guard. We finished up the point guard position. Chop, let's stay with you. What are we doing at shooting guard position?
Well, I think that one guy you're locking in is James Harden tonight. There should be plenty of pieces out there that are cheaper that you can get a stud, at least one stud. And James Harden's got to be that guy, I think, with the way Brooklyn has shaped up injury-wise right now. And the matchup with Indiana is, let me take a look at the DVP, the old DVP, the haters hate it. It's not great, but it's not bad. Indiana's not as good as they were last year. So James Harden locks you into one spot right there. After that, on FanDuel, we got such a great price on Karis LeVert. That's a pretty easy two-man tandem right there. In fact, LeVert is your salary saver to get you up to Harden. He's only $4,400 now. He's probably a bit overpriced on DraftKings, so I wouldn't go there. And then in that case, maybe I'm looking at Bruce Brown over there. Maybe Paul George. I really like this Clippers-Dallas game to stay competitive. and to get all our full run out of all these guys on both sides of this ball. So I like Paul George as one of them. And yeah, I mean, it's a pretty narrow field from here. And you know what? If you're going to tell me I'm going to get 32 minutes out of Halliburton, then he is in my player pool. So I have to take that back. I thought minutes restriction may have been less than that, but he's an explosive player. So if you're going to give me 32 minutes and a 247 total, I mean, I'll play him in my pool, but it's a pretty narrow pool here at this position.
Yeah, it's kind of ugly tonight, no doubt. I mean, there is some value, obviously, with the Houston guys. Guys like PJ Dozier should see some extra run with Harris and Morris out for Denver. But all in all, kind of ugly. No, any more optimism here for the shooting guard position?
Yeah, I think you guys covered it pretty good. And Super Poopy in the chat says Levert revenge. So don't forget about that. Facing his former team. I mean, 4,400. Yes. That's just that's too cheap on FanDuel. And similar Halliburton on DraftKings. We've talked about him, but if he's going to play 30 to 32 on DraftKings, I think he's a great play. A couple other options you could look to. Bradley Beal in that high total game against the Kings at home. We've seen Bruce Brown have some Slate breaking performances a number of times this season, so I don't mind him on FanDuel 4.1. And then we skipped over him at point guard in terms of FanDuel. Sterling Brown. We still have Daniel House and Ben McLemore questionable. We've seen him put up some big games, and he's going to play a ton of minutes. Even if those guys are active, I think he's currently projecting well. So his projection is only going to go up if those guys get out.
And one guy I like that kind of toes the line here, we're going to go to small forward next, but you can play him at shooting guard on DraftKings, Joe Harris for Brooklyn. They're going to need some scorers outside of James Harden. So this is a guy that can get it done. Projections look good on him, pretty cheap at 4,700. So Joe Harris, a guy I'll be playing for some value. Noto, let's stay with you. Let's transition into the small forward position. And then after this, we'll take a look at some of our favorite monkey knife fight plays of the night. Noto, what are we doing at 3?
All right. Talked about him a little bit at point guard. You know, the positional differences between the two sides are kind of hard to keep up with. But Kevin Porter is a small forward on FanDuel. So talked about him enough. He's going to average well over a fantasy point per minute. He's going to see big minutes regardless, even if they get blown out by the Warriors, like Chop mentioned, could easily be in the realm of possibilities tonight. After that, the position's pretty ugly. I do think people will go to Joe Harris. He feels too cheap on FanDuel at 3.8K. They're shorthanded, and he felt too cheap to begin with anyway. Indiana, not great against scoring wings, so that's a bump to him as well. Jaylen Brown had a big game the other night against the Jazz. I think he's firmly in play. Pretty good matchup for him against the Cavaliers. That's pretty much all I see for me. I mean, you can play Sterling Brown again over on DraftKings. I think he's a good option, but yeah, I don't love the position at all.
Yeah, I'm big on Jaylen Brown tonight. I mean, there's $1,500 difference in him and Tatum, so it feels too cheap for Jaylen Brown. So I agree with that one. Some decent value at this position. We mentioned Harris. Brown, you can play at small forward here on DraftKings. Chop, who we adding to the mix here at small forward?
You know, I mean, I guess I start off with seeing what Houston's going to do in the front court, in the front court, if Christian Wood plays or not. If he's out again or he's really limited, then I think you can load up on all the juniors at small forward. Kevin Porter Jr., Kenyon Martin Jr., and Michael Porter Jr. I take all the juniors, man. So those guys are all in play. If it breaks right for Houston for Kenyon Martin, we got to wait on that, though. Jaylen Brown, you mentioned Jaylen Brown. For the same reason I liked Paul George, I like Kawhi Leonard. I think it's a really good competitive game that's going to keep those guys on the court the whole time. So I like Kawhi Leonard at Dallas tonight. You know, Nick Nurse says he doesn't know. You know, he's got that list of guys that are questionable. He said some are going to play, some are not going to play. So if the guys who are not going to play are Van Vliet and Siakam, or at least just Siakam, I'll go back to Norman Powell again. Oh, yeah. At least on FanDuel, where he's somewhat cheap. Like, guy puts up 40 points a game in his sleep without Siakam out there. So Norman Powell's in the mix. Yeah, other than that, man, you mentioned Joe Harris, and that's about it. I'm not really, you know, it's pretty easy with on FanDuel with Kevin Porter taking up one of your spots. It just, now you only have to pick one out of all those other guys.
Yep. And even at an elevated price point, I still like Kenyon Martin, been playing well. 5K is still probably a little bit too cheap. So if the injuries keep rolling in, especially if Wood's out, that makes him a little bit more appealing, but I think he's decent value there as well. But you nailed it. It's KPJ, and find the other guy there for your small forward position. So we'll get to a quick question here before we take a look at our monkey knife fight promos for the night. Morningwood Blues wants to know, Forward on DraftKings for a tournament, 5,200 or less. Who's your favorite play of the night, Chop?
Wow. What is it? Forward.
5,200 or less on DraftKings. We're gonna give our man the lock play at that position. Forward. So
52. I mean, I don't even have DraftKings salary pulled up, so
all right,
Notorious will probably be better.
Any thoughts on that?
Noto, you might be muted.
Yeah,
man.
he's muted.
Amateur. In terms of our best projected guy, we have Tim Hardaway. I think I would prefer Larry Nance in tournaments. We saw him play a ton of minutes the other night. They're still shorthanded, and he's only 4,700.
Yeah, I was gonna say Joe Harris. I'm big on Joe Harris tonight, but I don't hate the Nance call. That guy's got a lot of upside. So the team not very good, but he's gonna have plenty of opportunity and plenty of run out there. All right, let's go to our monkey knife fight. Plays of the night. Remember, promo code Grinders, and get over there and take advantage. Free bracket contests. I mean, you don't find any free ones out there that actually pay out some significant money like this one. So $2,500 in prizes over on monkeyknifefight.com. Noto, let's start with you. Give the people some monkey knife fight winners tonight. Who are we looking at?
You were saying the free one was your monkey knife fight bet.
I'm not making that claim because every time we do that, it doesn't come in and win.
Yeah, so I targeted the game with the highest total, 247, just massive. So give me Bradley Beal over 49.5 fantasy points and Rashawn Holmes over 37.5. And I think we're all in agreement on Holmes, which we'll probably get to in a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's in for a huge game tonight. That interior is just able to be eaten alive and with no Bagley. I think that's going to help him tremendously. Chop, you also went the fantasy point route, a little two-way action here. Give the people the winner.
Could Notorious repeat what he just? Could you repeat your two guys, Notorious?
I did Chops.
Oh man,
I liked it. I liked it so much that I was thinking. I was like, man, I don't remember picking Bill, but I'll just.
I don't remember picking those guys. Well, that's one way to steal my thunder, man. Yeah, I went Bill and Rashawn Holmes, but
maybe Noto started St. Pat's a little early. See, I should have joined the party here. So right, now let's look at your monkey knife fight play of the night.
I think Chop's got to make an argument for my guys now.
Chop, do you want to give a quick thought on your picks that Notorious revealed?
Like you said, 247 total. Bradley Beal, he usually gets around 50 in his sleep in this kind of a game. And Holmes, I think Holmes gets there mainly with a whole bunch of rebounds. So I think that's pretty easy money.
All right, no, what do we got, buddy?
All right. My real one, which looks more familiar to me, James Harden over 54.5, which at this point looks like a lock. I made it before the Kyrie news. And then Sabonis over 44.5. He's been doing that almost every game. So that one feels pretty good at the moment.
All right, we'll take a look at mine. I'm going to go with Rashawn Holmes over 37.5 fantasy points and Bradley Beal over 49.5 fantasy points.
That's a good pick.
So I don't remember making them, but that's what I'm rolling with. All right. No, I'll leave you alone on this. I'm going to stick in that Washington-Sacramento game. I mean, clearly a huge total game here, and I'm going to load up on some overs here. Russell Westbrook over 53.5 fantasy points. He's done that in 5 of the last 8 games. So if I get that kind of ratio, I like it. I talked about De'Aaron Fox, how much I like him. He's gone over 44.5 in 7 of his last 8 games. So I locked that in. And then Bradley Beal, the one I worry about a little bit, he's only done it in 5 of the last 10 games. But I'm going to agree with Chop or Noto, whoever the hell made that pick, and go over on Bradley Beal's fantasy points as well. So a triple over for me. Again, our friends over at monkeyknifefight.com. Take advantage, guys. Promo code Grinders and get in that free bracket contest over there. All right, let's go to power forward next. Noto, let's stay with you, buddy. What do we got?
All right, so talked about it a little bit at the start of the show and before the show. Draymond Green, love the spot for him. He's been a triple-double machine recently. Well, double-double machine. He rarely gets to 10 points, but the rest of his game is pretty good. Good matchup in a potential shootout against the Rockets. I think you can play Tobias Harris on FanDuel. 7.8K is a pretty good price point. He sees a much bigger fantasy point per minute boost with Embiid off the floor than Ben Simmons does, so I like him quite a bit. I think a lot of people are going to play Jaylen Brown, so I don't mind pivoting to Jason Tatum in tournaments. I think he's interesting. Then if you're paying all the way up, obviously Giannis, it should be on your radar. He's topped 66 fantasy points in 6 of his last 10 games. He's got a high floor, high ceiling. And that game has a pretty close spread. And typically with the Bucks, we worry about, him resting in the fourth quarter. And hopefully we don't have to worry about that tonight.
All right, Don Yeezy beat Devin to the punch here. Jeremy Lamb ruled out, so helps Karis LeVert a little bit. Maybe a few more minutes there for LeVert. Chop, let's go to you. Power forward. What do we got?
Power forwards, guys. Don't forget to post your picks in the chat
Yes.
so I can get them here and write them down for you. So post your picks if you got a good NBA spread pick or total pick tonight. Put it up there and I'll track it. All right. Yeah, so similar. Like if you're struggling for a cash game, power forward, and you just want a guy to go out there and deliver you 28 fantasy points for really cheap, and that's not much else. Marcus Morris is in the mix since if he's going to start, which he looks like he is again. I think he's in the mix for that number. So Morris is there. Daniel Tice has upside with Tristan Thompson being out. Daniel Tice has upside. Jayshawn Tate, like I said, this is going to be dependent on maybe a couple of those questionable guys sitting for Houston. But if they do, Tate's been pretty darn good this year and still has a pretty reasonable price tag. If I'm spinning up, Sabonis, Jason Tatum, and you may even do a little lineup to where I make sure I have Bam Adebayo, or at least enough salary to get to Bam. So if and when Jimmy Butler gets ruled out, I'm ahead of the game, because if Jimmy Butler was already ruled out, I got a feeling the projection on Bam would be up there and he'd be, a pretty popular play. But because of the questionable status of Butler, maybe we don't get the big ownership on Bam.
Yeah, I like that call a lot. And a lot of people don't utilize late swaps. So if you're worried about that, less people than you think are actually using that. So get ahead of that one for sure. Just like I said, with that spread moving, it looked like 3.5, almost 4 points in the other direction. You got to think Butler's probably not playing tonight. So we had a quick question on Lauri Markkanen from John Chamber. Chop. We'll stick with you on this one. FanDuel, just 5,800. Thoughts there?
I mean, the projection is okay on him. I think that for much cheaper, I could get a lot more upside with Daniel Tice. So I'd rather go that route. I even think Jayshawn Tate probably has a little bit more upside, if we get a good blowout and he gets some good run like that by himself out there. So Markin is not really, I think he's nice and steady, but he's not really my cup of tea tonight.
No, any thoughts on Markkanen?
Yeah, I don't think I'll go there. I like to take call a little bit more, and getting sidetracked here, looking at our Discord. Shout out to Andy Means. If you want to play the St. Patrick's Day narratives, you got Patrick Williams, Draymond Green, Danny Green, Patty Mills, Pat Connaughton, Justin Patton, Patrick McCaw, Patrick Patterson, Jeff Green, JaMychal Green, Javonte Green. There you go.
There we go. I like that. That sounds like some winning lineups right there. Appreciate that, man. I mean, I love narratives as much as anybody, so I'll roll one of them out there. Let's wrap up with the center position again. Chat, we need some betting picks, and bring the hammer. Give us something good. You guys got some catching up to do in the picks. We're going to go to that here shortly. So we need some locked and load winners from the picks. So guys, put them in there. Your favorite spreads, totals. Chop will keep an eye on them. While he's looking at that, Noto, why don't you break down the center position?
Yeah, pretty easy for me. Give me Rashawn Holmes on FanDuel. I think he's in a really good spot. Been playing some great basketball. Great matchup as well. And like SPK said, we don't really think Hassan Whiteside is going to have too big of a role tonight. So he's going to be the guy that I play the most of. One other spot I want to keep an eye on, Serge Ibaka is questionable. Zubac did play 35 minutes the other night. So he's typically a guy that averages over a fantasy point per minute. That is the late game. Nobody's going to be, having that center spot open that late. So I think he's a very interesting play if you're building a bunch of lineups.
All right, Chop, we had a FanDuel question from our boy K-Mac. Big Robert Williams or Jakob Portal in a FanDuel GPP?
Man, I'll tell you, I was just about to talk about little Robert Williams. I like Robert Williams tonight, but I mean, Pearl's been good too, though, man. So, and we got the LMA and DeMar DeRozan out again. So Pearl's definitely your safer option. I think Robert Williams on the second game of a back-to-back has more upside because I think they're more likely to maybe go a little bit lighter on the minutes on Tatum and some of those other guys. So Robert Williams for upside, Pearl for definite consistency. But I was going to talk about Robert Williams anyway. You could go Dwight Howard tonight for cheap, but he's really performed well this year with Embiid out, and Embiid is out again and for a while going forward. So Dwight Howard's in the mix. Rashawn Holmes, though, he's kind of a lock and load guy for me. Washington's just a very weak defensive rebounding team anyway. And I think he gets a little extra minutes with the Bagley injury. And so the only thing we got to worry about, and I don't want to jinx the guy, but foul trouble. That's all we got to worry about with Rashawn. Just don't get into foul trouble.
Yeah, that's always the concern, no doubt on him. You can utilize Draymond Green, Rashawn Holmes. Those guys are both power forward, center, eligible on DraftKings, so you can kind of bounce them around however you need them. But yeah, you guys hit on most of the guys that I'm looking at. We had some questions about Rui in the chat. Our boy Poopy asking about Plumlee. Guys, any quick thoughts on Rui or Plumlee? Chop.
Yeah, they're not guys. I mean, I could see Plumlee. He's okay, but probably not using him, and I'm definitely not using Rui tonight.
All right, Derek, any thoughts on those guys, Rui or Plumlee?
So Rui last 2 games, 52 and 41 fantasy points. Minutes are trending upward, and best game environment on the slate. So I don't hate it. Feels like we're chasing a little bit, but we don't have to pay a premium for it. Plumlee, I'll probably look elsewhere.
And our boy Daryl Hodgkins, I always slaughter his last name, wants to know about DeAndre Jordan, 4,300. Yes or no, real quick? No.
Yeah, he currently projects as our best value at center.
Chop, you're our FanDuel guy. DeAndre Jordan, yay or nay?
I just can't because Rashawn Holmes takes that spot up.
I knew that was coming. I wanted to push it and make sure. Test that Rashawn Holmes love. So, all right, chat, keep firing those bets. We're going to take a look at some of our favorite bets. And boys, we got some catching up to do. I haven't seen this spreadsheet in a while, and 2-1 last week. So the lead runs up here, 19-8. Chop, you're sitting at 15-12. Noto, 14-13 on the season in the chat. Lagging behind at 13-14. Chat, you need a 3-0 here. Get your head above water here and try to catch up to your boy. So sitting in first, I will reveal my picks last. Let's go to our third place contestant. Noto, give the people some winners. Who are we betting on tonight?
Yeah, I copied Chop's Monkey Knife Fight picks. I should copy yours, Beer, because you're crushing right now. So I'll actually look at my column this time around. I got Milwaukee -5.5. I just think they're a better team than the Sixers, especially without Joel Embiid playing, and they're in a back-to-back. Philadelphia is. So I like that. I like the under in that game as well. 235 just feels like too many points. I think Philadelphia is going to start slowing their pace down a little bit without Embiid. Then I got Toronto -3.5. That might be a different number now, but I just think some of their guys are going to be back, and I think they should take care of business.
Hey, you locked in 3.5. We're going to honor that 3.5. Sometimes it's the beauty of getting in early. You see a spread you like, don't sit around and wait on, especially if there may be injuries, guys returning, things like that. So we'll let you keep that 3.5. Chop sitting in second place, 3-0 here tonight. Who are they? What do we got?
All right. So I'm going to start off with the Clippers -2 because I think they're just flat out a better team than Dallas, and they just beat them by like 10 points here 2 days ago in Dallas. So I'm going Clippers -2. I think the Bucks and Sixers, I'm going to take the under on that game. That's a big number, 235. So I just think without Embiid, the offense is going to struggle a little bit more for Philly. So I'm going to take the under 235. Now, I know the graphic is telling you I took Brooklyn Nets -3, but I didn't know Kyrie Irving was out. So I'm gonna switch it, man. I'm gonna reverse that thing. I want the Indiana +3. I want Indiana +3 over the Nets. I'll go back in the spreadsheet. I'll change it. If Devin's got the proper graphic, I didn't. You got to adjust to these injuries, man, and I got to adjust right now, and I got to switch my bet.
Same thing. We didn't lock you in, so you're good. You could switch it up. So Devin will make that switch, I am sure. My picks for tonight, I love Chicago here at home and playing some very good basketball. I like this matchup for them. I know it's a back-to-back, but not impressed with the San Antonio team, especially with no DeMar DeRozan. I think they could struggle offensively. So give me Chicago -1.5. I'm going to go under in that Brooklyn-Indiana game. I know James Harden is going to score. I like Joe Harris. I just don't know that they're going to have the offensive firepower, even with the lack of defense that they play. They've been playing better defense of late. So I like the under in that game, under 230. And I'm going to roll with Memphis. And I know it's, the line moved because of Jimmy Butler, but if he's out, that is a massive loss for this Miami team. Some of these guys have been struggling a little bit. I like Bam tonight as much as the next guy, but give me Memphis here at home. minus the 2. Chat, do we have some consensus here for the chat, Chop? What do we got for them? All right.
We got a few plays here that I think are standing out more than others. The first one was Golden State minus 12. Somebody dropped that in chat as I was telling you about the 17 straight losses. So we'll give them Golden State minus 12. I think that's a pretty reasonable bet. Milwaukee, I've had a couple of guys say Milwaukee minus 6 tonight over the Sixers. I was pretty interested in that one myself too earlier, but I thought, okay, let's just take the under. But Milwaukee minus 6, we're giving the chat that one. And the other one that I saw that was really interesting, under on that Miami-Memphis game. I like that call because that is going to be a snail's pace in that game. And you may not have Jimmy Butler. So under on that Memphis-Miami game, 219 is what the chat's getting.
All right, chat. So we'll lock you in. You got some work to do, and we're still working behind the scenes. We'll have a little prize for this contest. So, boys, got some catching up to do. Hopefully, can maintain that lead, but always fun to throw some bets around. And again, guys, scoresandodds.com. I can't tell you enough. $5. It's in everybody's budget. 5 days free. That will cover you through the entire weekend of March Madness, along with all the other sports as well. Noto, how many golf bets do you put in there a week? It's got to be upwards of 20.
Oh, man, it's a lot. Usually about 15. It takes me forever, though. Write a big blurb for each of them. And up 90 units on the season for golf. So if you want to hop in, $5, try it out. See if you like it.
There you go. NBA, NCAA, golf, everything. So, all right, we're going to take some questions here. We got crunch time coming up with Means and the boys at 6:30. We got a few minutes before we got to duck out of here. So, let's see here. Thoughts about Claxton in a DK single entry tournament from JWC King, Derek?
There was one of these guys a couple weeks ago that we just were like, nah, you shouldn't play that guy. And he went nuts. So I will never say never to Claxton, but I don't think I'm looking at him.
All right, Chop, we're going to send this one to you. Our Steve Josephin's asking about Sterling Brown, keeps popping to lineup HQ. STL Cardinals is saying, friends don't let friends play Sterling Brown. Would you like to take the opposite side of that stance?
Well, as of right now, I do think that there's merit to Sterling Brown tonight, just a little bit, only because, we could, like Christian Wood now is going to start, is what they're saying. I think that hurts Kenyon Martin, maybe even hurts Jayshawn Tate a little bit, but the backcourt is still decimated. So there's really not much. Eric Gordon, John Wall, Oladipo all out. If we get those other guys out too, then
House is starting. Don Yeezy breaking the news. Daniel House in the starting lineup tonight.
Okay, Sterling Brown's getting a little bit more and more iffy, but it's still plenty of minutes in the backcourt specifically. So as of now, man, he's on the radar, but man, it's getting tough.
All right, from D. Daryl Turner, is Will Barton in the mix tonight? Can we get 30 minutes out of him, Noto?
30 minutes, yes. I don't know about 30 fantasy points.
All right, John Chambers asking about Brogdon. I'm always a big fan of Brogdon. Always seems to go overlooked, so I say yes there. Chop from Big Hurt, 828 Flowers, best game stack on FanDuel tonight.
I mean, you gotta go with a 247, man. Go with a 247 because the beauty of that one is you can play the studs because there's plenty of value out here. So you're not like trying to pick, and the studs are pretty clear in that game. So I like the 247 Washington game.
No, Jason Martinez says he has nobody in the last 4 games of the night. Is that crazy for a GPP?
Let's see. So the last 3 are Denver, which I don't love, outside of Jokic, the Grizzlies, which I'm fading completely, and the Mavericks. So that's not crazy. The other ones I'll tip off an hour earlier.
I just want to say real quick, don't celebrate it and think you're winning $1 million. You got all those early games. That's the thing. It's easy to get excited. You're telling your wife we're going Sizzler, and that number can drop pretty quickly. So just be careful.
That's the key when you're not taking anything in the late games. You can follow the early games through about 3 quarters or so, and then stop looking at currently winning because it can only go down after that. So just be careful.
Pro tip: I never look. Once it locks, never look.
I don't either, man.
Me neither. I always have done better when I don't look at it. So leave
you
it
always
alone.
You always have a chance if you don't look.
It's nice to wake up in the morning and be like, oh, hey, hello, here we are. So we're all in kind of agreement there. All right, we got to get out of here, guys. Final thoughts for the people. Chop, let's go to you.
Yeah, fun slate. Don't overthink it. You got a lot of really good value just because it's popular. Don't think you have to fade it. There's some really good players out there, so should be fun.
No, final thoughts.
Thanks to the chat for joining along with us. Thanks for all the viewers, and happy St. Patty's Day, everybody.
Yes, absolutely. Chat, we love you guys. Good luck tonight. Appreciate all the conversation, all the great questions. Chief, thank you for helping us out in the chat. My man, Devin, amazing behind the glass, helping us out. As always, guys, happy St. Patrick's Day. Good luck tonight. We'll be back next week. As always, stay tuned for Crunch Time coming up here in about 9 minutes. For Chop, for Noto, I am Beer saying salut. Best of luck. Good night. We're out.